We are scrambling. You have joined us live on the Blue Plate Special. I'm Andy Andrews, and we are at Wisdom Harbor Studios here at the Wharf in Orange Beach, Alabama. And we are glad you're here. We have an interesting show today, and they're doing the wave out here in the studio. It's kind of a single wave, but the Morrises are here, so we're glad the Morrises are waving, and they are Jason Crabb's management team. So just so you know, and if by some weird thing you don't know who Jason Crabb is, shame on you. You need to go to YouTube right now, go to iTunes, download everything he ever did. Jason is my little brother, and he has 2 Grammys. You know, I told Jason, do you know, Jason is from Kentucky. And so every time I meet somebody from Kentucky, I say, do you know Jason Crabb? Do you know who Jason Crabb is? And mostly they say yes. And I say, well, you know, Jason is a Kentucky basketball fan, but he is smart enough to be an Alabama football fan. And so there was one year that Jason, I looked at him and was like, what is going on with you? Because Kentucky won the national championship in basketball. Alabama won the national championship in football, and Jason won a Grammy. I'm like, would you just buy me a lottery ticket or something? Anyway, I am glad that you guys are here. If you're new to us, press that notification button on Facebook. And turn your notifications on your phone. That way you'll be notified when we are live. Heather Olson, hi. How are you doing? You missed a few episodes? Well, you can go back and look at them. But we're glad to have you live. And if you're on YouTube, press that subscribe button. Also on Facebook, if you would, please share. Edgar Struble? Oh my gosh, how are you doing, Edgar? Edgar is, right, I guess he was Kenny Rogers' music director, and he now does the music for the CMA Awards, and he's a big deal. Edgar's a big deal, and he lives out in Los Angeles, and he's a big deal. Margaret Davis Haupt, yeah, I'd love to hear Jason Crabb sing. Me too. You want to start on something? Get Somebody Like Me on YouTube. Somebody Like Me. That's just a good place to start on Jason for you. Edie Ward loves Jason Crabb. Jeanette McNeil Groves Proctor. Wait, that's a long name. Wait, back up there. That's a long... Jeanette McNeil Groves Proctor. From Arlington, Texas. You know, there was a football player named, I think he played for Ole Miss, Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. I thought that was a long name too. So Diana Torres Acker, what's the weather going to be next in Oklahoma? I don't know, man. All the fishing trips have been canceled around here because it's like 7 or 8 foot seas. It's so windy. Joseph Lombardo, hi from Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. It is just after 3 a.m. What are you doing up? I mean, what are you doing up? Can you not sleep? Well, we are the perfect antidote to that. We'll get you to sleep here. Hey, we set... Oh, do you like the shirt? The shirt is from right up here, from Sand Dollar Lifestyles. It's the cornerstone of the Wharf. And it's a huge, huge, huge place that has T-shirts and everything. They have shoes and live animals and corn dogs. Not really, but they've got almost everything. Brendan Blair from Rogers, Arkansas. Hey, you have a baby. All right, 6 weeks old now. That is awesome. That is awesome. And I'm very excited for you. Joy Gregory, top of the morning to you too. We have an unusual show, okay? We just put out a 5-minute video today, and it's a serious one. It's about the Holocaust, and it's about the things that people don't know from the Holocaust. It's specifically the different colors in the badges. You know, there's the badges, the stars, and the triangles, the yellow ones that the Jews wore. But my book, How Do You Kill 11 Million People? You read in the book that out of the 11 million people, 5 million of them weren't even Jewish, and so everybody's heard of the yellow stars and the yellow triangles that the Jews wore, but most people don't know of the different colors that Christians had to wear and that Democrats had to wear, and so anyway, that's a 5-minute piece, and it's out right now on all social media. And so if you could watch that and share it. And Miss Acker said, is any of my shows ever normal? Diane Torres Acker. Probably not. But, for those of you who are signed up for the VIP mailing list, which you just go to andyandrews.com, it's VIP mailing list, we send out a coupon code every Friday with exclusive deals for the store. And today we're giving the code out a day early, and anybody watching can get 25% off on the How Do You Kill 11 Million People. You got to enter EMP25 in the coupon code box of the cart or the checkout page. And to get a code like this every Friday, just go to andyandrews.com/VIP and sign up. Today's code is valid through May 29th. And again, that code is EMP25. And so today, doing that 5-minute video, which I'm seeing that some of you have already seen, I've just, it consumes you thinking about it. And when I wrote the book, I started collecting some stuff and just to display, and we have a lot of it displayed here in the studio. And so I thought, I'm going to go into some research and that I've done, that I did for the book, and that didn't make the book. And I'm going to just maybe list some things for you guys. This is history that deserves being remembered. But I wanted to show you something first, because this is not going to be like a happy list, okay? I've got a lot of things. This is a ration card that was issued in Germany, and it's for margarine and petrol and bread, and if you didn't have a ration card, you didn't eat. You didn't get anything. Dan Stone, hey Dan. Dan says How to Kill 11 Million People is a must read for all our kids in middle school and high school. And I agree. And I'm gonna tell you some things today that you probably haven't heard. Adele Gomez, catching us live for the first time. Chet Calhoun, you watched the video earlier. Excellent explanation. Thank you. So as I started, doing research and all for that book, I got very curious, and I wanted to see some of this stuff. And so these are some of the things that are on display. This is a picture of rings that they took from the people before they were murdered. And here are some of the actual rings that I have. Gene McDonald, hello. Over a million, about 100,000 over a million, about 1.1 million children died during the Holocaust. And young children were particularly targeted by the Nazis to be murdered during the Holocaust because they posed a very unique threat. Because if they lived, they would grow up to parent a new generation of Jews. And many children suffocated in the crowded cattle cars on the way to the camps. And those who survived to the camp were immediately taken to the gas chambers. One of the most, these are just some facts that I feel like deserve being remembered. The most intensive Holocaust killing, the most just a lot in one place at one time, took place in September of 1941 at the Babi Yar Ravine, just outside of Kiev, Ukraine, where the German troops had overrun parts of Russia or the Soviets, and so they were rounding up Jews there. But there were more than 33,000 Jews killed in 2 days. They were forced to undress and walk to the ravine's edge, and when German troops shot them, they just fell into the abyss, and the Nazis then pushed the wall of the ravine over, burying the dead and the living, and police would grab children and just threw them into the ravine as well. So this is, as I was going through estate sales and different places to try to find some of this stuff, and we've got a Nazi colonel's pistol. We've got a lot of stuff over here that you need to see if you come into town. But I started at some point getting outbid by a lot of things on some public and private auctions, and I was like, why am I getting outbid on this stuff so dramatically? And I realized I was bidding against the Holocaust Museum, and so I have always felt that no one entity should own the artifacts of history, and that includes a country. I don't think a country should own all the artifacts of its history. And so I determined I was going to win a couple of these things. And so this went up for auction. And I feel weird even holding this because of what I know is inside. When the camps were being liberated, Eisenhower sent generals with photographers into these camps to take pictures. And at a press conference, when the press asked Eisenhower why he was why he was taking pictures of all this, his quote was, "Because one day some son of a bitch is going to say this never happened." And of course, that is happening. But this was one of the generals. There's 3 stars here, a general's badge. This is one of the general's briefcases or whatever that particular general carried with the photographers. And so this was up for bid, and it said that it had original pictures inside it. And so as the bidding got really high, I emailed the person and asked, I said, can you show me pictures of what's inside so I'll know what I'm bidding on. And the lady was a granddaughter of the general, and she said, no, I can't. She said, I went in it one time and I'll never open it again, and you can either bid on it or not, but I'm not opening it up. And I ended up getting that bid, or getting this, and a couple of weeks later when it came to the house, I was down in my office by myself. And so you know how you get something, and then 2 weeks later it comes in and you go, what is this? And I opened up the Fedex package, and I said, oh, I know what this is. And so I opened it up and I pulled the pictures out and looked through them. And you know how you feel like you have seen everything, especially in the years since this happened. You just feel like with the internet, with movies, with television, that you've seen everything. And you haven't. I put the pictures back in there, and SB was upstairs with Polly, and I went upstairs and I told Polly and SB, I said, let me tell you what this is, and this is going to go. I'm just putting it aside in my office. I said, but don't ever open this. This doesn't ever need to be opened again. And I told him then, I said, maybe as adults, the boys might have a need to open it, but you guys don't ever need to open this, and nobody needs to open it. I wish I hadn't seen it. But you can't unsee some stuff. Okay, here's some more facts. In 1946, there were 2 partners in a leading pest control company, and they were tried before British military court on charges of genocide because it was argued that the accused must have realized that the massive supply of Zyklon B that they provided to concentration camps was far above the quantity required for delousing or bugs, but they were convicted and hanged. Between 1933 and 1945, you know this statistic, more than 11 million men, women, and children were murdered. Approximately 6 million of these were Jews. So 5 million were not. Prisoners that were mainly Jews, they were called Sonderkommandos, were forced to bury corpses or burn them in the ovens. And because the Nazis did not want eyewitnesses, most Sonderkommandos were regularly gassed. And of the several thousand of them that worked in those camps, less than 20 survived. Some of the Sonderkommandos buried their testimonies in jars before their deaths. And it's kind of ironic that the Sonderkommandos were dependent on continued shipments of Jews to the concentration camps to stay alive. So it's estimated that a third of all Jewish people alive on the earth at that time were murdered in the Holocaust. In his papers, Rudolf Hess described the process. You know, in the book, How Do You Kill 11 Million People? That book refers to not how did they physically do it. We know how they physically did it. It doesn't refer to how crazy do you have to be to do something like this. You know, history's full of people that have been that crazy. And but it referred to, you know, how do you get these people to cooperate with you? You know, because you've seen the films, you've seen the photographs, and there's like a Nazi guard with a gun, and then 10 yards away a Nazi guard with a gun, and 10 yards away a Nazi guard with a gun, and then thousands of people loading themselves onto the rail cars. And so, you know, I looked at that and I thought, why don't they run? Why don't they rush the guards? Why don't they fight? Why don't they hide? And the answer to how do you kill 11 million people was pretty simple when I found it, but it was stunning, and it was that you lie to them. And there's the lies that are described in the book, but this is a different one that was also used. And Rudolf Hess, in his paper, or in his papers, he described the process of lying to the Jews who were entering actually entering the gas chambers. And to avoid panic, they were told that they had to undress to be washed and disinfected. And the Nazi guards used a special detachment team. There were other Jewish prisoners to help keep an air of calm and to assist those who were reluctant to undress. And children often cried, but after members of the special detachment team comforted them, they entered the gas chambers playing or joking with one another, often still carrying their toys. The Holocaust would not have happened without mass transportation. The majority of the people who were deported to labor and death camps were transported in cattle cars, and these cattle cars were generally fitted for 10 cows, and they had more than 100 people stuffed into these things. And these cattle cars did not have water, they didn't have food, they didn't have a toilet, they didn't have ventilation, and sometimes there were not enough cars for a major transport. So these people would wait at a switching yard, often, you know, just like standing room only, for several days. And the longest transport, now there were the German registry, their own registry lists 15,000 camps and sub-camps that were accessible by rail in Germany and in the occupied territories. 15,000. But the longest transport of the war took 18 days. And when the transport doors on the trains, you know, the cars, when the doors were open, everybody was already dead. You've heard of Dr. Joseph Mengele. He was a surgeon, and his experiments were horrific. They almost always would murder somebody and dissect them or dissect them alive. And many children were maimed or paralyzed, and hundreds died. He was actually known by the children as Uncle Mengele because he would treat them real nice before he would start in on them. He would bring them candy and toys, before personally killing them. And twins fascinated Joseph Mengele. He was actually known as the Angel of Death. And according to witnesses, he sewed together a set of twins who were 4 years old, Italian twins, Guido and Ina. They were 4 years old, and he sewed them together from the back in an attempt to create Siamese twins. And their parents were able to get some morphine and kill them to end their suffering. The soldiers who patrolled and operated concentration camps were known as Totenkopfband, and that's death head detachments. They wore skull and crossbone insignias on their uniforms to reflect what they did. And you've probably seen those. Soviet soldiers were actually the first to liberate the death camps. On July 23rd, 1944, they liberated Majdanek, and most of the world initially refused to believe the reports of what they found there. Thousands of concentration camp prisoners died within the first weeks of freedom from malnutrition and disease and from actually eating too much. Einsatzgruppen task forces. Einsatzgruppen were mobile killing vans. They were these small buses, and they were kind of odd-looking trucks, and they had the exhaust pipes redirected into the cargo area, and so they were mobile killing vans, and Jews were herded into these trucks, sometimes 90 at a time. But these trucks were used to kill over 1 million Jews. During the Holocaust, Nazi Germany became a genocide state, which is a government dedicated to the annihilation of Jews, and every arm of the government played a role. Parish churches provided birth records of the Jews. The finance ministry took Jewish wealth and property. Universities researched more efficient ways to kill the Jews, and government transportation bureaus arranged and paid for the trains that carried the Jews to their death. More than, and this just is a testimony to the lies that were able to calm these people. But in Treblinka, more than 870,000 people were killed with a staff of 150 people. And there are actually fewer than 100 known survivors of Treblinka. At the entrance of each death camp was a process of selection. Pregnant women, small children, sick, handicapped, the elderly were immediately condemned to death. Concentration camp laborers, these people who came in, they would be forced to run in front of SS officers to show that they still had strength. And this happened over and over again. The SS officers directed the runners into one of two lines. One line went back to the barracks and the other went to the gas chambers. And the runners did not know where the lines went. During the Holocaust, the most respected German corporations used slave labor, including BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Messerschmitt, and Krupp. And though they were not forced to use slaves, nevertheless, they used them as good business practice. I.G. Farben a German chemical industry conglomerate, invested more than 700 million Reichsmarks to build a huge petrochemical plant at Auschwitz, which was staffed by human slaves. Signs to the entrance of the gas chambers read baths and disinfecting rooms. Other notices read cleanliness brings freedom. It took approximately 20 minutes to kill everybody in the chamber. And Auschwitz and Birkenau could kill 6,000 people a day. The Nazis would process Holocaust victims they would process their hair into felt and thread, and hair was used to make socks for the submarine crews, ignition mechanisms in bombs, ropes and cords for ships, and stuffing for mattresses. And camp commanders were required to submit monthly reports on the amount of hair that was collected. British troops liberating Bergen-Belsen found that the Nazis had experimented using human skin for lampshades. Bergen-Belsen, by the way, is where Anne Frank died. This is barbed wire from Bergen-Belsen. These are keys from gates at Bergen-Belsen. Lily Isaacs, many of you know the Isaacs, and Lily Isaacs' mother was in Bergen-Belsen. When the Soviet troops entered Birkenau in 1945, they found 358,000 men's suits, 837,000 women's outfits, and 15,400 pounds of human hair packed into bags. And the Nazis had them in warehouses for future use. 6 million is the minimum number of Jews killed by the Nazis. Thousands of infants and babies were killed before their deaths could be recorded. So the number is low. And to further the facade of and the lie of cleanliness, SS men would dress as doctors, pretending to examine the victims before they went into the gas chamber. And the real purpose of the procedure was to mark the people who had gold teeth in their mouth so that their corpses could be set aside after they were killed. In one infamous experiment, newborn babies were taken away from nursing mothers to see how long they could survive without feeding. And today, if you go to Treblinka, you will notice that the dirt around the camp is not brown. The dirt is gray. And if you trickle that dirt through your fingers, it's coarse and sharp, and it's filled with fragments of human bone. At Dachau, the Nazis researched ways to stop a bullet wound from bleeding by standing people up and shooting them in all different parts of their bodies. And they did that at universities as well. They used university students would have somebody in front of the class, and they would shoot them to see how they bled, what a bullet did to that part of the body. And finally, You remember what Eisenhower said about why he took the pictures. Well, Iran's president, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, he continues to claim that the Holocaust never happened. And Elie Wiesel, the famous Jewish philosopher, I'll close with this. His quote was, "To forget a Holocaust is to kill twice." So, I've said it before, but the purpose of history is not just to honor somebody. I mean, just because they have a statue, just because they're in a book, history is not just to honor people. History is supposed to be a cautionary tale as well. And you've heard that people who don't remember history are doomed to repeat history. And if you dig to the bottom of the pool in that, you can see how that happens. Because if people don't know about some of this stuff and don't know how it began, then there's nobody to go, hey, wait a minute. We've seen this before, and I know where this leads. And I see, as I do interviews with, for this book, How Do You Kill 11 Million People? And I'll tell you, I wrote this book with a purpose in mind. I wrote this book that it would not say Republican, it would not say Democrat, it doesn't say conservative, it doesn't say liberal. I've got a picture of Anderson Cooper holding the book up, of Donald Trump holding the book up. This is the book that everybody can agree on, but you have to know it. You can read this in 15 minutes. And I, as I would do interviews with this book, it became very apparent to me how much just the average person doesn't know, not about what happened, but how it happened. And so that 5-minute video is out there, and I say this on that 5-minute video, that it's amazing to me how many people say, when Hitler took over in Germany, well, when Hitler got hold of Germany, when Hitler took over. Well, Hitler didn't take over. He was elected. He was elected. A fully educated, industrialized, modern nation elected him. And so, watch the 5-minute video. The code for the How Do You Kill 11 Million People is EMP25 on andyandrews.com, and definitely sign up for the mailing list, because we send those coupon codes every week. And I know this wasn't a barrel of laughs here today, but I appreciate you stopping and thinking with me today. And we just got to be aware. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.